Welcome to step 1 of creating your eyeball. This step would be great to do with your color mixing exploratory exercise. All of the colors you are going to mix on your palette can work for this exercise as well. So if you have a nice long chunk of time, I highly recommend doing this all at once. So that your paint stays wet and you can just carry over into this. There is some prep work you need to do before you paint if you are in an older grade. Most of you got your tag. Actually, let's go over quickly the materials and then I'll explain the materials for your eyeballs. This is what we'll be doing today to start our eyeballs off. You will need the following items from what you brought home. You will need the traced circle on black paper, the 7x7 tag board or poster board. Some of you have lines drawn, these lines already. Some of you do not. So you will notice there are dots. I will walk you through how to make the lines on that tag board. You will need a piece of scrap black paper for the eyelashes. This is for the pupil. This is for the eyelashes. You will need a white piece of construction paper, of which you have 3 or 4 in your packets. Some of these are for your color mixing exercises. Quite honestly, you could do your color mixing at the same time as you do this. That would be a great use of your paint. So save a couple for color mixing, and then you're going to need one for the white part of the eye. You will also need your 12x12 background paper. For the first step, if you don't have lines, you're going to need pencil and a ruler. If you do have lines, you don't need to worry about that. You're also going to need a paintbrush. It almost doesn't matter what kind. Smaller will be easier because, these segments are quite small. You will need a cup with water in it, a paper towel for helping clean your paintbrush, and you will need your red, yellow, and blue cups of paint. You will also need a palette. You could use a plastic plate. I like to use paper plates because they're easy cleanup. This is what happened to my paper palette when I did my color mixing. You could easily use all the colors on here for your project. So, yep, it's getting a little warped and all that, but it's great for easy cleanup. Once you've gathered your materials, meet me back here for step 1. If you have lines on your paper, you can skip step 1, you're good to go. Step 2 is for you. If you do not have lines on your paper, grab a pencil and a ruler. Draw your lines lightly. I'm going to draw them dark so that you can see them, but because we are going to be painting over them, you probably don't want to use a Sharpie or a pen. Use a light pencil so that you can see, but not under the paint. So that it won't show through the paint. All right, the first 2 lines are going to be through the center of your paper. So connect your 2 middle dots vertically, rotate your paper, connect your 2 middle dots vertically. It is okay if they are not perfect. So from here, you've got 4 quadrants. Each of these 4 quadrants will be separated into 3 segments. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. The outside are triangles. The inside is a kite or a tie shape. All right, so be watching this as you're drawing your lines to make sure you always have a kite or a tie in the middle corner of each quadrant. So I'm going to kind of leave this to the side so that you can keep that in your mind. In your mind's eye, no pun intended, whilst we are drawing these lines. So I just finished this line. I am going to rotate my paper slightly and connect the next line out from this center line. So here's my center. I'm just gonna rotate and connect the next line. Your line should go pretty close through the center. It's okay if it's not perfect, but pretty close to the center. Okay? Rotate your paper again and connect the next 2 dots. Again, it should be going through the center, so I'm just double checking. I've got a triangle, tie, triangle. Triangle, tie, triangle. Lightly. Rotate your paper again. Oh, we already connected those 2 dots. Rotate again. Okay, is my line going to go through the center? Yes, it is. Double check. If you got over here, you're wonky. Is your line going through the center? No. So make sure you're connecting the next two dots and that your line is relatively going through the center. And again, it's not going to be perfect. That's okay. Rotate again. Connect. Do 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 do. I am ready for step 2. Go grab your paints. So step 2 will be painting primary, red, yellow, blue, secondary, orange, green, purple, and tertiary, and those are, I have actually several tertiary colors. I've got red orange, yellow orange, yellow green, green blue, blue purple, and red purple. So I've got a bunch of tertiary colors. Again, this can all be done at the same time. So if you have your paints left over, you're a step ahead, but I'm gonna walk you through this from the beginning. So feel free to skip ahead if you've already got your paint mixed up, and just make sure you're tracking with us. Okay, so I have a little dollop of red, a little dollop of blue, and a big dollop of yellow. You can always add more paint. When you take your paint out of your cups, be sure to put the lid back on so that it stays nice and liquefied for the next round, or for if you have extra, you can make another painting after this. Again, you can always add more. So start with a small amount and see where it gets you, then add more. All right, let's start with our primary colors. I'm going to start with yellow so that it's not muddy. And it really doesn't matter where you start, but I started in a corner, so that's what I'm going to go for. Doesn't take a lot of paint. This is a pretty small piece of paper. So again, up on your tippy toes, use good technique. If you drew nice light lines, your pencil lead probably won't be bleeding. Mine kind of is because they were a little darker. Any glops need to be smoothed out. All right, I'm gonna wipe the yellow off. So tempera and paper do not like water. So as you wash your brush, make sure it runs clear, wipe it on the lip, don't tap it, and dry off your brush so that you're not adding unnecessary liquid to your paint. Okay. So to paint your next primary color, again, these are your 3 primary colors, you are going to skip 3 segments and rotate around. So you're going to imagine there are 3 colors in between here, your secondary and 2 tertiary colors. So skip 3 segments, 1, 2, 3. And really, if you want to help yourself out, this center spot is going to get covered. So I'm going to help myself out. I'm going to put a little B here for blue. 1, 2, 3. I'm going to put a little R here for red. 1, 2, 3. So check twice before you paint, because this is how we're mixing our colors. It'll just be a little easier for us. So I'm going to put blue here. My brush is clean, tippy toes in the blue, not a ton. You can always add more. Good brush technique. I actually like how the matte side is taking the brush, or excuse me, taking the paint. I think it might be working a little better than the glossy side. Smooth out any glops. Wash your brush. Wipe it on the lip, wipe it on your paper towel. Looks clean to me. Rotate to red. Dip. This is a really good exercise for brush control. It's totally okay if yours is not perfect. The center is gonna get covered, and that's the trickiest spot. Just make sure to fill in that whole segment. Try not to leave any white space. All right, excellent. I have red on my brush, so I'm gonna go ahead and leave red. I'm gonna work my way around just like I did for my color wheel. So I need a secondary color right here, mixing red and yellow together. So the secondary color that red and yellow create, and again, I've got red on my brush, so I'm not gonna get any more. I'm just gonna dip into the yellow. I'm not gonna mix into the yellow. I'm just gonna dip into the yellow and mix with the red on my brush. You always need more of a lighter color when you're mixing to get the color you're looking for. So I'm looking for a red, middle of the road yellow, or excuse me, middle of the road orange. Here is my secondary color of orange. I'm super happy with that. It's all integrated. So again, you could use a pencil and tell yourself orange goes here. What's the secondary color that mixes with blue and yellow together? This would be green. The secondary color when you mix the primaries of red and blue together are purple. You could just write a little note to yourself there in the center. I'm really happy with that. Orange. If your orange is too dark, what would you do? Right, you would add a little bit more yellow. What if your orange is too light? And so you need to add a little bit more red. I'm very happy with this. This is right in between. And speaking of in between, we're going to come back in a moment and do in between red and orange. Well, actually, why don't we just do it right now since we're here and we've got orange on our brush. So here's a bunch of orange. Red orange is what we want in between. This is a tertiary color. When you mix a primary with a secondary, you get a tertiary color. So I've got orange on my brush. I'm gonna dip into the red and make a really nice deep red orange. And I don't have enough orange here to make this happen, so I need to mix up a little bit more orange. Okay, so let's get a nice deep red orange. Again, tertiary color now. I think I might add a little more red to that. Tertiary is in between a primary and a secondary. Okay, fantastic. Now, this is a very deep saturated red orange that is on my brush, so I'm going to wipe that off. Or use my messy mat here. Okay, because I'm mixing another tertiary color here of yellow orange, I'm gonna go ahead and leave that little bit of orange on my brush, dip into the yellow here and make yellow orange. So you're gonna need a lot of yellow. That's why I wiped my brush off. There's a lot of reds hiding up in the bristles. Okay, so once you get a nice color that's in between orange and yellow, you should have the tertiary color of yellow orange or orange yellow. Oh, that's really cool. Creamsicle color. Okay, so I'm filling in my color wheel really nicely. At this point, if I cheat and just wipe off my brush on my messy mat, I'm gonna create brown. I'm gonna create mud. So I'm gonna go ahead and take the time to really rinse off my brush until it runs clear. We're gonna create the secondary color between the primaries of blue and yellow, which of course is secondary color of green. And I wrote myself a little note, skip one, skip one and put green in the center here. So green requires a whole lot of yellow. So let's put a whole bunch of yellow here. And just dip your toe into blue. Again, it hardly takes any of a dark hue, and it will take a whole bunch of a light hue to get the in-between color. That's nice, but I might want it just a skosh darker. I'm going for kind of a grass green color, right in between green and yellow. Again, you can always add more of a darker hue, but it's really hard to take it away. I think I'm happy with that. Double check before you paint that you're actually painting in the correct segment. This is green. I've skipped a segment. So again, green is a secondary color. Oh yeah, gorgeous. Love this. Okay, now we get to create our tertiary colors in between green and yellow, green and blue. So let's go backwards. I've got green on my brush. I'm actually gonna wipe a little bit of it off so that just the green in my brush is mixing with a whole bunch of yellow. And I should get green yellow, or a very light lime, or like a chartreuse, or a spring green, new leaf green. Love it. Excellent, good. So green is still on my brush. Since we're working with the tertiary colors between yellow and blue, it's totally fine that I leave green on my brush and I don't wash it. Now I want a nice dark green, blue, or teal. So I'm gonna put some green over here and dip my toe in the blue until I'm happy. I want a color in between green and blue. Tertiary color of green, blue. And again, how are tertiary colors created? You need to mix a primary color with a secondary color that's next to it on the color wheel. All right, awesome. So green is on my brush right now, and blue. If I want to mix my secondary color of purple, I definitely want to clean my brush off until it runs clear. So to get the secondary color of purple, which two primaries are we going to mix and which segment is it going to go into? All right, good. So this segment will be purple. Which is the darkest hue here, blue or red? Definitely blue. So you're gonna need more red and less blue to make the secondary color of purple. So I've got a bunch of red and then I'm just gonna dip my toe in the blue. Purple can be a tricky color. You're looking here for a grape, and what I've got is more of a cherry. You're looking for a grape or an eggplant color, so just keep adding little dips of blue until you get the color purple you like, that you think of when you see a rainbow. You're going for that purple, just perfectly in between red and blue. Once you've got the purple you want, and that turned out really nicely, Make sure you skip a segment. Use good brush technique. Wipe all the glops out before you reload your brush. Nice. Okay, let's go for the tertiary colors here. I've got purple on my brush. I want the tertiary color of purple blue, so this will make a lovely indigo. Got a little purple on my brush. Get a dollop of blue. Oh, I just love that color. Look at that. I don't know that I have enough though. There's enough on my brush. I might have to mix a little more here. Oops. Yeah, that was a scratchy one. We barely had enough there. I need to mix a little bit more next time. Okay. Clean up my lines a little bit. All right, and our final tertiary color, what would you call it? Purple red. So purple red. I've got purple on my brush. I'm gonna scoop up some purple here. I'm gonna add a dollop of red to it. So now we want that cherry burgundy color. That looks really good. Be careful to not get paint. Maybe I need a little more red, honestly. It's looking a lot like that purple there. Let's put a little more red in here. Oops, oops. All right. Looks great. Go ahead and let this dry in a safe place. Clean up your workspace and meet me back here with all of your other materials, including scissors and glue for part 3.